Dick Cavett Show with Stevie Wonder, actor Alain Delon, Elsa Lanchester, Tex Ritter, and Bob Rosengarten and the orchestra. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Cavett.
I should warn you, please, you wouldn't applaud that much if you knew what's holding up the balcony. It's amazing what you can do with a few sticks of juicy fruit gum. It's an old theater, but I don't want to frighten anyone. I'm Dick Cavett, jet setter, beautiful person, former wine steward at Blimpies. You ever say, I'm sorry to the tourists to tell you, we have no checking facilities here, despite what the man said who took your luggage out in the alley. So, there you are. I'm waking up. I have been out of it all day, sort of. You know, you ever get those days where, like, you'll drive up to a stop sign and sit and wait for it to change for 10 minutes? That's how I think I'm snapping out of it anyway. Say, don't pedal without a license. New York, they have, that startled you, didn't it? They're cracking down on peddling without a license. The fine is increased. This does not affect our pretzel man, who has one of the dread 00 licenses. But anyway, hey, a man 75 years old in New York, do you see about this? Who has ridden the subways for 40 years, came forward to say that he has, and that he has traveled 50,000 miles on the New York subways. And Mayor Lindsay called him to City Hall and subjected him to a psychiatric examination. It was really... Mayor Lindsay the other day admitted that our subways are dirty. How about that? This is a man who once pronounced the Grand Canyon deep. Really is something when you think that you pay 30 cents to be subjected to grime and crowding and misery, and you can get all that free on the streets of New York. 40,000 dead fish. Did you read about that? Washed up on the beaches of New York. And an official said, yes, this morning, that's true. Yeah. 40,000 dead fish were lying on the beaches, and someone said that isn't surprising, an official. He has a point. If 40,000 live fish had been lying on the beaches, I suppose it would have been. It's because of the condition of our water, which is also an understatement. I mean, you could find 40,000 dead Ukrainians on our beaches one of those mornings, and it wouldn't be too surprising. President Nixon has said that the cities are polluted, but the thing is, he said, this is in a speech today, I think, not to be defeated by the problem, and to stay in the cities and to fight it and to not run away from it. And then he got on the plane for San Clemente. Say, the George Washington Bridge, you see about that? To come into the city now, it costs you double if you're from out of town. But to leave costs nothing. And I don't think they thought this through, because to come in, you have to go out, so they're not going to gain any money. I mean, they make the same amount. But to fox them, when you enter the city, for each time you come in, leave twice. Not now, no. Hey, Women's Lib have struck again. You know, they've occupied the Statue of Liberty for the last couple days. Now, I'm not a male chauvinist, and as far as I'm concerned, they can go to the Statue of Liberty and do whatever they want with him. But when they showed up with blowtorches to burn its bra off, I think that's un-American. You know about McSorley's bar around the country? You probably don't. This is sort of sad in a way. Oh, I have hay fever. McSorley's is an old ale house. Well, you know about it, way down in the Bowery. We know it very well. And it's for 116 years, no women have been allowed in there, which is all right, I always thought. And the women have been protesting that, and last night the women went in there in great force, and of course this occasioned a great deal of tobacco spitting and swearing and foul language and fist fighting, and then the men started doing that too. But no, they went in without a certain amount of foresight, the ladies, because when they, 116 years, no women. One of the ladies had 3 beers and said, "Where's the ladies' room?" The bartender went, "Ha ha!" So, there you are. To the women lived ladies, I'm joking, of course. I have joked about my size, too, so stop sending me mail addressed male chauvinist piglet. Enough of that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Say, if you're tourists and you have cameras, be kind of careful while you're in New York. I saw a thing the other day. A guy was lining up a shot, and a construction worker, as a joke, took off his helmet and jumped into the picture and said, "How shall I pose?" And the guy said, "In your hat." And the construction worker hit him for no reason. Yeah, and Dr. Brothers, well, I have one more. Can you sit through another? Do you have a minute? I mean, if you're not... Dr. Brothers made a speech down in Australia. Read about that, and she brought out this incredible idea that women with a terrific appetite for food also have a terrific sexual appetite. And no applauding with your mouth full. Now, that's better than the joke. Forget it. Listen, I have to get out of here. Does anyone want to... is that glass? Oh! Is that real glass? Oh, okay. If you want beautiful hair, listen to this message about Breck shampoo. Bye. My first guest's been headlining, I think, since he was about 12 years old. He's won a dozen gold records, or been awarded those. He's in concert often at Carnegie Hall. When he plays the Apollo Theater, the walls come down. He's here tonight singing his latest hit song, the incredible Stevie Wonder. Oh, yeah.
Like a fool, I went and stayed too long. I'm wondering if your love's still strong. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours.
We'll be right back after this. Here we are. Talking with Stevie Wonder. May I call you Stevie or
Whatever you prefer.
Mr. Wonder
Whatever.
or... I buy your records and...
Just don't call me George Schwartz.
That, as you know, is his real name.
Hey, you don't want to get hit upside the head.
No, it's one of the things I enjoy least. Stevie Wonder isn't actually your original name, is it? It was something...
Steve Morris is actually my real name.
Lamorse?
Steve Morris.
Oh, Steve Morris.
Get it together now.
Yeah, I will in a minute. I hope. And I always buy your bread. That's something I'm not going to say either. You're going to get me. You've got a dozen gold records on your wall. Well, I assume they're on your wall. I don't know what a person actually does with his gold records. Do you...
Most of them on the wall and on the floor.
Somebody, I've often wondered what a gold record is worth, whether it's really, because they look like they're made out of solid gold.
I was trying to check one out the other day.
Yeah?
Breaking it open. Yeah.
Probably find there's an old Cass Daly record in there with gold all over it. You're a composer.
Yes,
fair to say.
I write the melody and music to most of my songs, and the lyrics are written by Sarita Wright or Sylvia Moy, who is also at Motown Records as a lyricist. Writes a lot of the songs, the lyric. I'm very bad. I was very bad in school in poetry, so I definitely am not a lyric writer.
Yeah. And how does a song come to you? Do you have to sit down to write it and intend to write it, or can it come to you suddenly when you're not expecting it?
It's all a matter of inspiration. In other words, I guess the day, whatever happens to me within a particular day, encourages me to write. Or a certain person or certain people that I meet or wherever I go. You know, I might write a song after leaving here. Depends on how it turns out.
Will you let us know? And if it turns out nicely, I'll...
I'm not going to give you a percentage of it, though.
Oh, yeah? Notice how I come back with witty comebacks when someone's... Now, later...
Well... No.
Says you. How's that? Has any of the fun gone out of performing for you that you used to have when you were little Stevie Wonder? I never hear anybody call you little Stevie Wonder anymore.
I hear a few disc jockeys say that every once in a while. I want to knock them upside the head, but
yeah, but
actually, it's still very exciting. I just had the pleasure of going to Australia, and it was definitely together.
Australia is together?
Sydney.
Huh. I hadn't heard that it was...
it's together.
Not together or anything.
Well, you never know. You know, so much is happening today. It might just...
Come apart?
That's right.
Gee. You're speaking about geology now, an earthquake and that kind of thing.
Well, you never know.
I want 10% of that.
That's immediately out of the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, as Taurus the Bulls, we like money.
Are you a Taurus, the bull?
What sign are you?
It always slips my mind. I mentioned, I think I'm a Scorpio. Does that... Copernicus.
Well, Scorpios, I think, are very good people. Basically, very good people.
But there are exceptions, I suppose. Or not.
Keep on talking, we'll find out.
I heard that you were getting married. Are you marrying a musician?
Yeah,
a musician?
She plays the tuba. No, I'm kidding.
But is she a musical lady? Do you require that?
Well, Sarita is my fiance who writes the lyrics to a lot of the songs. Also, my mother's done some writing. I got to mention that because she'll be mad at me if I don't.
Yeah.
But Sarita has, as a matter of fact, I have an album coming out. Not the one that's out, and I just had an album released, signed, sealed, delivered. But the following album, which basically I think is one album that is more me than anything I've ever done. It expresses, or at least I'm expressing the way that I feel about the situation that exists in the world today, the problems, and...
That's on the upcoming.
We do have a few of those.
Well, I hadn't heard of any, but if there are... Yeah. What's the album called?
I am not sure of the title of the album yet. I think it's going to be Stevie Wonder the Man.
Yeah. All right. How about Dick Cavett's Favorites? I want you to think about that. We will return after this message from our local station. Stevie Wonder again. Stevie Wonder. And this just actually has a record in it. That's rare. Must be a mistake. Kate Smith favorites. From Signed, Sealed, and Delivered, Stevie Wonder, right here.
I never dreamed you'd leave in summer. I thought you would go, then come back home. I thought the cold would leave by summer, but now my quiet nights will be spent alone. You said you would be alone in springtime. That is when you started to be cold. I never dreamed you'd leave in summer, but now I find myself all alone. You said then you'd be the life in autumn. Said you'd be the one to see the way. And no, I never dreamed you'd leave in summer, but now I find my love is gone away. Why didn't you
We'll have a station break, and we'll be right back. Here we are. Here, my next guest is a marvelous character actress. When you think of movies like Bell, Book, and Candle and The Razor's Edge and The Spiral Staircase, which you get goose pimples just thinking of the title of, and not to forget, of course, The Bride of Frankenstein, you think of Elsa Lanchester. I just heard her gasp backstage, but she was married for over 30 years to the great actor Charles Laughton, and it's a pleasure to welcome her here tonight. Elsa Lanchester. So here we are.
Yes.
Do you get so you don't even flinch anymore when people say Elsa Lanchester instead of Lanchester?
If I'm going to meet them again, I correct them. But if it's passing in the street or on a market or something, I just let it go. Yeah. And if they called you sort of Flossie Floozy, you know, if you're recognized, it's nice.
When they call me Flossie Floozy, I get sore. I don't know what it is. There's a Charles Laughton festival that you're going to at Dartmouth or Cornell?
Dartmouth.
Dartmouth, of course.
Dartmouth College. It's a Laughton festival. It's been going on for 2 or 3 weeks, and they're showing all his films, you see. Mm. And I go there at the end of this week. Of course, I came to you first.
Of course.
On the way.
Okay.
And I just go and talk. a couple of times. I call it a talk because I think for an actress, a lecture sounds so pompous, don't you?
Lecture always has a bad sound.
Well, anyway, I'm going
like
to
lecture.
lecture.
Take notes and,
they're showing witness for the prosecution, which we're both in.
That's
both
right.
Were in.
You were the nurse, weren't you?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And you were—that isn't the only film you did together, though.
Oh no, we did
Henry VIII.
Henry VIII, Rembrandt, The Beachcomber. Anyway, I don't want to be too glib. That's enough.
That's all right. 3 will do. I'd love to see all those again. I remember seeing Mutiny on the Bounty several times.
Well, now you,
Hunchback of
yes,
Notre Dame.
yes, you obviously sit up, watch yourself now, so you can't see any late films.
What sort of person would watch movies at this time of night? It's a terrible idea. I often wondered, there's a lot of things I would like to know about Charles Laughton. Did he ever not like himself in a role?
He never liked himself in a role. About 5 or 10 years afterwards, he often did, retrospectively, you see. But actually, he was very unhappy always, especially the first few days in the film. He felt that he couldn't get the character, and he always said to the director, I must leave this production. I cannot go on with it unless you promise me that you'll reshoot the first 3 days at least of this film, so that when it's cut, at least my first horrible days will be good. Well, when the film was finally cut and put together, the director used to say, well, look at it. He could never tell which were the first 3 days, and nor could anybody else.
But he just felt that it was lousy for some reason he couldn't explain.
No, he did. That's the trouble about television. He did very little of that, and it would be hell, because, after all, if you're a deep prober into character, you take at least 2 or 3 days to get the character. And that is quite true, but a television show is shot in 2 or 3 days. You haven't got the character anyway. It is, for character actors, I think it's a little tough, a little difficult.
I wonder about all the parts that you've played in films. You've played an incredible variety of parts, but did The Bride of Frankenstein type you for a while? Did you get a lot of Monsters' Wives roles? Well, actually, it wasn't the Monsters. Yes, you were created as the wife for the monster.
I would have no part of him. I let out a noise when I saw Boris Karloff. I let out a noise like a swan. If any of you have ever seen an angry swan in the park, I don't know.
That's right.
No, I did.
That's frightening.
Yeah, I think I did it through my nose more.
It's much worse. You realize that lightning streaks are forming in your hair from...
Oh, really?
You've seen the movie.
Yeah, anyway...
Whose idea was to put the lightning streaks up your hair? That was terrific.
James Whale, he was the director.
Yeah.
He was a marvelous imaginative director, you know. But... no, he sort of, you know, at the beginning of that film, I'm Mary Shelley. That is the delicate, beautiful young woman who wrote the Frankenstein stories in the first place. And his theory was that delicate, beautiful people had the foul fiend themselves inside.
Oh.
That inside you pretty girls, there is the devil. And
I think most of us know that.
So marry a plain woman, gentleman, or vice versa.
Marry one where the devil is obviously on the outside, and then you won't be surprised. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
no.
Well, I mean to say I would have said bitch, but I said devil. I don't know.
Well, just as well, one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, you get so much in the habit on these shows of sort of holding your tongue. In fact, it's so many people have made slips, haven't they, lately?
Do you have a notorious tongue?
Well, I have. If I was on the program more or for longer, it might slip a little, yes.
Well, let it slip tonight. We just pretend that you've been here several times and just make a blue streak in the air. See if I care. I was surprised to find that you knew Isadora Duncan. I guess I'd be surprised to find anyone knew her, because she seems like kind of a figure that exists.
Well, I was one of the wretched children at her school. If any of you have seen the film, I don't know, in Paris.
You were one of those, one of her students.
Yes, you know, sort of these kind of. You can see, can't you? I've been to Isadora Duncan.
Very good. Is there any side to her that you didn't see in the movie that you could tell us about?
Well, I thought Vanessa Redgrave was extraordinary. I mean, what that young woman did with this, well, untalented bag of beans.
Gee, I wish you'd been here longer, and I'd like to hear how you'd really describe it. So Isadora was not a saint to you?
No, no. She was. I was a child, you know, and we were in Paris in this enormous hotel with about 90 bedrooms, which were vast, with vast bathrooms too. And this place was given to her by a millionaire singer, Paris singer, the man that invented the sewing machine, which came out in film, I think. But it was given to her to teach the world to dance. And so she was pregnant at the time, as usual. And by Paris singer, you see, which wasn't quite clear in the film, but it may have been.
Pregnant by the sewing machine
the man that gave her the place to teach the world to dance, yes.
Obviously dropped a stitch somewhere. Didn't he? Can we come back to this story? I'm all wrapped up in it now, but we have a message. We'll be right back. When we left Isadora, she was penning a note to the sewing machine man or something. What happened there? We stopped in mid-story.
Yes. Well, as a child, I didn't like her because we had to, she used to sit or lie on a kind of divan and was covered like a cocoon, a silk cocoon in draperies. And at that time, she had hennaed hair and painted nails. And for a child, you know, all that time ago, it was like something completely artificial and rather frightening. And she used to make us walk up in line up in the morning and walk up and kiss her hand. And I didn't go along with that, partly, of course, because my parents were socialists and my mother was a suffragette. And the child of these advanced people did not like kissing hands, you know. I didn't mind my hand being kissed later, of course, but at the time I was very upset. And then we were little clothes horses. We used to have a blue salon and a white salon, and all the distinguished people in Paris, in fact, Europe. Rodin was said to come there and draw us all. I believe he did. Some of those little Rodin pictures you see are probably others, maybe me, I don't know. And anyway, in the morning we wore blue linen little dresses, and then we were watched by famous people as we ate lunch. And then we changed into pale blue little dresses. We danced in the blue salon in blue chiffon, in the white salon in white chiffon. Then we were taken into the Louvre like prize Pekingese. And I know we all had great coats for that. We were taken in Rolls Royces and saw Versailles. And it was all very educational, except, for example, I was given a sort of a khaki horse-down-coloured coat. It was a dreadful colour. And all the other children, we each had different colours, but I happened to get this horrible coloured coat. And it makes a child very unhappy, you know. So what with my sort of khaki coat and the hand-kissing, I was very, very...
what an odd childhood.
Yes.
While you were doing that, I was taking piano lessons in Nebraska. It just doesn't sound the same somehow.
No, it didn't have much effect, obviously.
No. Which, Nebraska or the piano lessons?
No, I was also, the piano lessons. I was also the only girl at a boys' school, to change the subject from Isadora.
This is at another school. You were the
school.
only girl in a boys' school? Did you pass yourself off as a boy, or how did that...
No, I just wouldn't go to what is called public school, free school. In England, it's called council school. But still, that's just incidentally, when you said what a strange childhood, I jumped to that. That's all.
I would think you would. But were you miserable at a boys' school?
Oh, no.
No.
Good gracious, no. That
the opposite
was fine.
of miserable.
Yes, I was rather cruel, like boys are. I mean, it's the basic cruelty in little boys, I think, that partly is back of war. But, you know, they're cruel.
Are you saying that women have no vicious streaks?
Oh, yes, of course they have.
Yeah.
But it's a different type. Bitchiness, as apart from, as I was mentioning before.
Bitchiness as usual is the motto.
Yes, but little boys, you know, I mean, we
How do I do it? I'm sorry, Miss Lanchester.
It's perfectly all right, Mr. Cavett.
Something in your tone. But did you finally get taken out of this boys' school, or did you leave it voluntarily?
No, the school stopped when I was 13, and I wasn't fit to go to any other school. And so I didn't have any more schooling.
Do you feel warped at all by having been in a boys' school when you should have been in a co-ed school?
No, not at all. No, I mean, I sort of get by, being a sort of London city child, I get by with the kind of thing that children in cities get very smart. Do you know? I'm not educated, but I'm smart.
Yeah.
I'm completely unerudite, if that's a word. You know
Sounds
what
like
I mean?
one.
Sounds like a word, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you're not educated in the formal sense.
Not
you
at all.
Quit going to school.
Yeah.
And your parents were vegetarians and
socialists.
were they also pacifists?
Yes.
What would they do today with the studies that have proved that vegetables have feelings, I wonder? And do you know about this? I think I'm making that up. But they did a study in which they wired them with whatever would correspond to electrodes and found that a man came in and was cruel to some plants and tore them up, and when the same man entered the room, the other plants betrayed something like fear.
I don't think it was completely to do with cruelty. I just think that my mother, who was the dominant one, just didn't like meat. My father wanted to eat meat. In fact, he felt quite ill without it. And occasionally she'd let him buy a pig's head, you know. Well, that's very cheap. And also, if it's cooked, you know, it's called tête de veau vinaigrette. So it's not so bad as you might think. But the result was that we all used to sort of stand around and watch him eat this face, you see. And my mother used to walk by and say, "I hope you're enjoying your corpse."
Did wonders for digestion. Speaking of that era, did you know Zelda Fitzgerald too?
No, I wasn't in America. See, I was in England at that time.
Yeah.
I came to America in 1932. Mm-hmm. That's when we were showing our legs on board ship.
Who was?
Well, I only mentioned that because it took me back to, you know, you cover as much territory as you can in these quick interviews. And it gave me a picture of sitting on the rail, arriving in New York, with my skirt way, way up, you know, and photographers beneath you, you know, saying, higher, 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 all the time. And after all, with miniskirts up there already, so you don't, it was much more indecent then to be told to lift it up higher.
Yes.
Wasn't it? So back to
Must
Zelda.
have been. I can't imagine things like that.
I just switched from Zelda because I know nothing about that particular period in America. You know.
Now, so what is your arrival year in America? In the 30s?
In 31, I think it was. Yes, we did a play. Then Charles, of course, was sort of drawn into films in Hollywood.
There's this talk of a mysterious, unfinished film that he tried. Making one time called I, Claudius. And then it was never finished. Is there any place anyone can ever see that?
I think it's been shown around the country. I think it's been syndicated, but it was made by BBC. And it's a marvelous documentary. I'm glad to say there's no documentary been made about Charles, and they're pretty routine, those documentaries. So this is a remarkable piece of work because it gathers all the efforts that he made to get into the character, the thing I was talking about right at the beginning of this conversation. And he goes Cockney, returns to his roots, which are Yorkshire, and he curses and swears, and eventually you see these rushes with him cursing and swearing. Rushes, so you know what the day's work. Yeah. And he certainly, eventually gave a performance, which they've got that piece in this film, which is so great that the film makes you weep because he never fulfilled the promise of this extraordinary performance of Claudius. But it's only sections. They only got a third of the way through. And,
Gee, I'd love to see
this
that.
film, it is around the country, and I don't know, some station.
And you once played Peter Pan with him.
Oh, yes.
He played Captain Hook and you played Peter Pan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
Where was that?
At the Palladium.
In London?
In London, yes.
And then you broke your arm or something and flew sideways, or how?
No, I never broke my arm.
A rib?
I broke a couple of ribs because they flew me badly. The man that flew me had flu. Oh, God.
Almost sounds like a terrible pun.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And a flying understudy was on. He kind of lifted me with a jerk. But oddly enough, you do 2 shows a day of Peter Pan. That's 3.5, that's 7.5 hours you're in that flying outfit. You see, twice a day.
And it broke a rib?
The harness caught me in such a way, I suppose. But it was a relief to go on, because when you're on the stage, you feel nothing. I mean, you know, if you poke my eye out this minute, I probably wouldn't know. because we're in front of people and there's some sort of thing in the air, you know, that...
yeah, there's actors go on very sick and feel
yeah,
well
I've
after
seen
the
you with a
performance.
cold on, and you soon forget it, don't you?
Yes?
You've been on with a cold.
Sneeze my way through the conversation and try to pass it up. I have always thought that Peter Pan would be an impossible role. I don't see how any adult could go down to the footlights and say, clap your hands if you believe in fairies. But I suppose that it can be done with the puppet.
I like to, my two acting parts are Ariel, the old Vic, and Peter Pan. Because I haven't really done a great deal of acting on the stage itself, you know. You can announce me as much as you like as a stage actress, but you can forget
But I'd be
it.
wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever met Alain Delon?
No, I haven't.
Would you like to?
Very much, of course. What should I say?
Wouldn't it be refreshing if someone said, not especially? After this brief message of interest, we will return. My next guest is a French film star who has caused ladies to pass out at the very sight of him. He's produced a new film which sounds really good with himself and with Jean-Paul Belmondo. It's called Borsellino. We're going to see a little trailer from it, I think, in a moment. But will you welcome, please, Alain Delon. That's fine.
Thank you for inviting me here, and it's nice to be with you, and I'm very pleased to be next to you, Miss Lanchester.
Thank you, Lanchester.
Do you have any nerves about doing this kind of thing? Is this a new bag for you, as they say in the trade?
Well, I have nerves, and especially about my English way of speaking. You'll find out later on, probably.
Oh, will I?
It's kind of a strange way, yeah.
Oh, don't worry about it. If we get in trouble,
I do worry.
I'll speak of the French accent, and we'll clear it all up.
Would you?
Yeah,
How about your French?
I'll try. How's my French?
Yeah.
Marvelous. How could you ask?
Let's hear.
What?
Let's hear it.
You think Americans are stupid? Any American
No,
can
they'll
speak
understand.
French.
Really?
Of course. It's a simple little language that almost everyone can speak.
Well, I'd like the English to be
Nothing
as simple as the French.
You're-
It'd be better for me.
I know you, for example, are suave, chic, et escargot.
What are you? You sweet?
Nothing.
Chic, suave, and escargot.
Suave, chic, et escargot.
I don't know what chic means. I know just what chic means.
Chic.
Chic.
Oh, did it
Chicks.
sound like chic?
Well, I know it
when
sounds
said
like chicks. Chicks broad or something like that.
Oh,
no?
chicks? No, that's girls. Chic. It's
That's
a French
what I
word.
meant, girls.
No, chic
Well,
is
you
a
meant
very
chic.
famous
chic.
French word.
No, chic,
C-H-I-C.
Yeah, they're like elegant.
Yeah.
So you meant chic, elegant, and made broad. I made broad. I told you you're gonna get stuck with my English.
How do you do in German?
Very badly.
Let's switch to that
Very
for a
badly.
moment. Now, English is very simple. Also, I would say French is an easier language to learn than English.
Well, it's a
But-
bit different because in French we much more talk with the hands. You know?
Yes.
See what I mean?
And it doesn't stop there.
Yeah,
from what
like
I hear.
Italians. You know? Of course.
Yeah. The women on my staff have just been passing out at the thought of your coming over here tonight. I don't understand that. I don't know. I've always thought you looked a lot like me.
That's what I heard, Dick.
I don't know what it is.
Would you join me on movie business or so what?
I'm sorry?
Would you join me on movie business?
Would I join you
like
in the movie
co-star or
business?
something?
Why? Are you coming apart?
Yeah. Why not?
That's a little play on words. Will you join?
I just didn't get it.
That's a jeu de mots, as
A
we
jeu de
say
mots.
in Swiss.
Well, let's have another one.
No, I thought maybe this would make you nervous because I didn't know if you'd ever done an interview show like this in English. And
Not sort of a live show like this and with the audience.
Yeah.
But everyone has to start.
That's
a way
right.
and another, right?
Does this feel like conversation or does it feel like a performance?
Well, it feels much more like I don't know. I just sorry.
It's a strange combination.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling anyway.
Yeah.
But I'd like to talk to you.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a French jeu de mots too.
C'est quoi?
That's a French jeu de mots too.
Oh, is it? Like to talk to you?
You just didn't get it, but it's all right.
I got it. It went right by on the level of my head. Would you like a...
That's another one.
That's
No?
another little play
Yeah.
on words.
Okay.
You're ahead of me. This guy isn't French. He's obviously a fraud. You,
I didn't get that one.
I'm one up now. You
Say
see,
it.
I always keep one ahead of me.
I get you back.
What was I going to ask you about? Oh,
Anything you want.
I know a lot of things. You didn't start out to be an actor. You started out to be a child, of course. But I mean, you didn't go to acting school or. That was not a joke, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
You didn't intend to be an actor, did you? You started out as something.
Well, I don't even know if I'm an actor since yet. Well, what do you think about it?
I would say you're an actor.
Oh,
yes,
thanks.
yes. I would say that
Thanks.
whatever you have done in
Thanks.
films and Purple Noon.
Yeah, I was a child at that time.
You were very young then.
Yeah, very young. No, I was not supposed to be an actor. By the way, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And
Is
yeah.
it true that you were discovered at Cannes in a borrowed suit,
In what?
in a rented suit?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I still borrow suits sometimes, but that's the way I was discovered. That's right.
And what were you then?
I was just coming back from the army. I spent 4.5 years in the army.
Was it the
That
Marines?
time. Yeah, the French Marines. Yeah.
Were you a good Marine?
Well, not. I got a seasick first of all, so I quitted the Marine and I went into the, how do you call that, on Earth, because I couldn't stand on boat. I vomit all the time. Yeah. As I should say, as strange as it sounds, I got into the Marine and I was thrown out because I got seasick.
So you went into the
In the, how do you say, on the Earth?
into the men's room, probably.
Yeah, men's room first. Then.
Sorry.
Oh God, I'd like to talk. I'd like to talk. You don't mind if I just?
No,
May I?
no.
Please take anything off.
You may be surprised.
I'm not going to get in on this at all.
Why? You won't join us? Okay, go on.
What was I going to ask? Oh,
No.
you this film you made with Belmondo.
Yeah.
Right, you play gangsters in that. Are they? It's kind of a Bonnie and Clyde, I've heard, in a sense. I mean, it's a Clyde and Clyde, because you two are the two leads in it. But it's sort of.
That's another one, huh?
Somehow I'll get to the end. Why don't we just show part of the movie?
Yeah,
Right?
please.
Okay.
Go on, yeah.
I think this is called the trailer.
It's somewhere in a way. I don't know. I haven't seen it. It's a surprise for me.
My monitor has burned out. Can anyone see one? Here, let's take a quick look. They're going to think we went out for a little drink during that. Now, the set that we're supposed to see it on here burned out, so we all had to go around the corner. To the bar, actually, to see it. After this message from our local stations, we'll be right back. So. That was what we call a trailer that we saw of the film there, that little preview thing. Why were you and Belmondo in the fight, in that scene?
You mean why?
Yeah.
Well, it happens that's the way we happen to meet together. And of course, it's so we start by meeting each other, by fighting each other. And of course, it's about a girl. You know, mostly in life, it's when you got in fight, it's most of the time about a girl. Well, that's happened to me. I don't know if that happens to you.
Sure.
Sure.
Would you fight over a woman in real life? Couldn't you just reason it out? Couldn't you just...
You mean fight a woman?
No.
For a woman?
Would you fight over a woman? In French, that
what
probably
do you mean over?
translates badly.
Over, it's...
yes, it does.
What sort? Well, I don't know. I just...
Dans la vie.
Dans la vie. Because,
dans la vie.
Yeah.
Si vous voulez frapper quelqu'un, quand il s'agit d'une femme,
no, don't laugh.
It's getting dirtier as I try. But I got my money out of Berlitz.
They won't understand, but you're good.
Let's drop that and move on to something else.
Move on. Over. Yeah.
There's a scene in the film that where with all those old cars, it's very authentic. I mean, it seems like a film of that period. You understand?
Well, it's based on a true story anyway. Those two guys really existed in 1930.
Oh, those are two real gangsters?
Yeah, real gangsters in 1930. And they're very known over there. And they were as famous, as known as Capone or Dillinger. Really.
As well known as Capone or Dillinger?
In 1930. In Marseille. Yeah. You've heard of Marseille.
We say Dillinger. It's a hard... We call
Dillinger. Sorry.
Sorry, I said Dillinger.
And
I was not making fun of you.
You didn't get a laugh.
That's how we know I wasn't making fun.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was telling you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I'm sorrier because I'm here every night.
I'm sorry.
When you were Monsieur Delon, when you were a kid, I heard that you tried to run away to America. Did you get here?
How do you know that? Yeah, I was 14.
Ways.
Yeah, that's true. I was 14 years old, and I just wanted to reach Chicago.
Yeah.
And
Chicago. Why Chicago?
Well, I don't know. Well, you know, first of all, in France, when we're kids, especially, we always dream on geography books, and of course, the biggest dream was America, because America to her sounds just like a new world, and Chicago because it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get to Chicago because I was stopped by the police before I get into the boat. I wanted to go there by a boat and work on the boat. I was with a friend of mine. I was just got sort of fed up with my family. I was fighting with my family. And just watching the book of geography with my friend, we just decided to go to Chicago.
Yeah.
That's it, as simple as that.
Chicago just... And you never got there? You never got
No, I never. I got to jail.
Yeah.
But not in Chicago, in France.
In France. Jail's more fun in Chicago, I have.
Yeah, I think so. It's almost...
Is the press rougher on a person there than they are here when there's some... I think there was that problem, the sort of scandal question a couple of years back with you, and I wondered if the press is any rougher on there when something like that happens. Did they ever solve that crime, by the way? That, you know the one?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing to do with the rough press and not rough press. I think the press is almost the same in all of the world.
Yeah.
But I think the press only came in because I was a known person, personality, and that's what makes the big scandal of it. Well, that's not it's not a especially funny story to talk about.
No.
But it's not resolved yet.
It isn't. That's what I wondered if it was
No.
still... Because I know you had cooperated very much with the authorities on that.
I didn't quite cooperate because I'm not that friend of authorities.
Yeah.
There's none in my relation, and I don't especially deal with them.
I'm wondering...
And especially when they put me on, the way they did. Okay, it's okay. Just forget about it.
Okay. I just wondered if a thing like that, this changed subject slightly,
Go on.
in Europe, in America, when something happens like that in someone's career, it seems to enhance their career, make them more famous in some sense. I don't know if that's just as true in Europe.
Well, I don't know. It could have, I think, could have killed me, could have ruined my career.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it just did the opposite, if you want.
So that's about what happens here.
Yeah, and it's probably because I had on TV and was not that kind of show, unfortunately. It wasn't not that funny. I had sort of a relation with the audience, and I had to explain myself and to talk to them.
Yeah.
And it was in French, so it was much simpler. And probably the way I talked to them, I got them back, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, on my side.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they were the only one I had on my side. But when you got the audience on your side, you just can't lose.
Yeah.
If you agree.
I do agree. But people are... It is interesting how people's personal lives affect their careers. I mean, let's face it, until Mia Farrow married Frank Sinatra, no one had heard of Frank Sinatra. And that didn't come out right.
Well, it's a bit different because I didn't get married with anybody. It was a kind of different wedding.
Yeah. Different what?
Wedding. Wedding?
A wedding.
Oh, wedding.
Wedding, yeah. You had your head shaved when you were in the Marines. Why did they do that? Do you understand the head shave?
Oh, shave, completely shaved?
Yeah, I heard.
Oh, yeah, because any time in France, in the Marines, anytime you do something wrong and anytime you go to jail, they just shave your head. And I had my head shaved 5 times. Because I spent, during 4.5 years, I spent 11 months in jail. And that's probably why now I got my hair long, Remember that time.
Yeah, to compensate.
Yeah, to compensate.
What do you have to do to get your head shaved in the French?
Just to go to jail. And you will ask why to go to jail. Probably once because I stole the Jeep from the army away, and I just went around with a couple of friends, and the Jeep ended in the river with me, of course, in it.
And they didn't think that was funny.
No, it was not funny. But I just don't understand why. It was a lot of fun for me.
You may not be cut out for the army. Then.
Yeah.
What were the other 4 times?
It's less easy to talk on TV. I mean, stealing a Jeep doesn't affect anybody, just the army, but it's not that important.
I'm hip. Actually, I'm hip.
You're what?
Did you say that I'm hip?
Hip?
In French?
No, we just say hip, 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 hurrah. That's all what we say. What's hip?
What is hip?
Yeah, what is hip?
Hip is what I embody.
That's what you are? So what am I?
So what are you?
Yeah.
Well, if hip is what I am, what would you like to be?
I'd like to be hip.
Oh, you would? Can you report for a lesson tomorrow?
What time?
The guy's taking me up on this. Now, hip is I guess actually musician's expression. It used to be hep in the old days. I don't know if it was ever hep, actually.
Was it something to do with hippies?
I don't know. I haven't been in this country long enough to really explain all these things. Your questions are too difficult. Let's take a message and we'll be right back. Elsa Lanchester and Alain Delon, the gentleman who's about to join us, made 85 movies in 15 years, and I think I saw most of them on Saturday afternoon. He was last week defeated in the Republican primary for senator in Tennessee, but the consolation prize when you lose in Tennessee is an appearance on the Dick Cavett Show. Will you welcome Tex Ritter?
Do not forsake me, oh my darling, on this our wedding day. Do not forsake me, oh my darling. Wait long. A noonday train will bring Frank Miller. If I'm a man, I must be brave, and I must face a man who hates me. Or I a coward, craven coward, or I a coward in my grave. Oh, to be torn twixt of love and duty, supposing to lose my fair-haired
beauty. Look at that big hand move along, near in high noon. He made a vow while in state's prison, vowed it would be my life or his. I'm not afraid of death, but oh, what will I do if you leave me? Do not forsake me, oh my darling. You made that promise when we wed. Do not forsake me, oh my darling. Although you're grieving, I won't be leaving until I shoot Frank Miller dead. A long, a long, a long way long.
Lanchester. Did you or did you not? Were you the voice in the film?
Yes.
Of High Noon? I thought so. I was thinking it was. Yeah. Was that your campaign song? It's a silly question.
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't really have one. I don't suppose.
Yeah.
A campaign song.
I saw an article about the campaign, and most of the places where you appeared, they asked you to sing, or you did sing, or both.
They usually ask for a song that I recorded many, many years ago. An old folk song of the South called The Ballad of the Boll Weevil. And that's what I usually sang to finish. In the early part of the campaign, we didn't do any singing, but later, when we had the music with us, I usually sang one or two for them.
When you look back over the campaign now, do you have any reason to know why you might have won or why you lost?
Well, I guess I must have dropped a stitch somewhere along. Well, I don't suppose if you lose, you don't. We aimed our campaign at the anti-Gore vote. That's the incumbent senator.
Sorry, Gore.
Hoping that the Democrats would cross over and vote for us. But about 10 weeks before the election, a very fine young man entered the Democratic primary, and he was a moderate, as I was, the middle of the road. As a matter of fact, I think we have the same position on every issue, and he ran very well. But when I knew that he had entered the race, the Democrats didn't have to leave their party to vote against Senator Gore and to vote the moderate philosophy. So I think that hurt us a great deal, and just didn't get enough votes. They didn't follow the old-time Democratic philosophy of vote and vote often the same day. You know, they didn't do that.
That alone can beat you.
Yes.
Your opponent was very wealthy, as I understand. Brock was his name, wasn't it? The man who...
Oh, yes, very wealthy. We didn't...
Now, if you're not, how can you compete? Did you find that you were at a terrible disadvantage?
Well, yes, we didn't get the money. We didn't have the money. It takes so much. I think that's one of the tragedies of American politics. It takes so much money to run. You have it here in this state. Possibly it takes more than any other. But it takes a lot in any state, and we didn't have it. We had no billboards, and we had not much TV. Right at the finish, we had some TV. But we just went to the people with the country music artists helped us. Very grateful for that. But you need so much money, which we didn't have. And
do you think being called Tex had anything to do with not winning in Tennessee. Did you think of
Tennessee is the mother of Texas. We never have discovered who the father was, but so the states are very, very similar. I mean, the political philosophy, and it was not until a friend of mine, as a matter of fact, he and I went to law school together at the University of Texas. Ralph Yarborough was defeated in the primary in Texas, that the young, very fine candidate Hudley Crockett entered the Democratic primary. But Ralph Yarborough and Senator Gore voted similar on most issues. But the people are very similar. The two states are very much alike. I don't think that hurt any. I don't think so. Possible.
How long did it take to make 85 movies?
Well, I was out there about 15 years making those pictures, I suppose. I lived there 30 years, but...
How long did a film take in those days, a cowboy film?
Well, some of them around 8 days, some of them 7 days.
That long?
It's kind of an A picture. You prepared them maybe a couple of weeks, you know, you pre-recorded all your songs, and maybe worked the script over a little, but we didn't waste much time once it started.
You ever do a whole movie in one take?
Well, it wasn't quite that. You see, those are the people that made the B pictures, and the people that made the little westerns, the kind of pictures we made. Those were the people in the early days of television that they called upon, because they didn't, like the pictures Ms. Lanchester was in, maybe they'd take a scene and they'd take it over and over.
Yeah.
If we took a scene and it was right, we went to the next scene. And those are the people that made the early TV pictures, the producers and the directors of the B pictures, which move rather rapidly, and the little westerns.
When we come back, I want to ask if the rumors were true about Hopalong Cassidy. We'll be back after this message from our local station. Mr. Ritter, were you a cowboy, actually?
Well, I was born on a cotton farm in East Texas, but we had livestock of all kinds. I was born around livestock. Now it's mostly cattle instead of farming, but it's in the rural part of East Texas in Panola County. I was born way out in the country, farm and ranch.
So you didn't have to learn to ride to make cowboy movies?
No, I knew how to stay on, I thought, but I stayed on most of the time. But,
I've heard that riding in movies is very dangerous, and that some of the best riders who ride in private life will not do the things they're asked to do in movies because there have been a lot of people hurt that way.
Well, the posse goes pretty fast sometimes. A lot of actors, for instance, from New York, that come out and, you know, in those days that said they could ride.
Yeah.
When you have to ride at a full gallop and shoot a gun, well, some of the people were shot in the face with the powder burn. But it is a little different. It's rather hard all day long. You usually shoot all the long shots first, and it's pretty hard riding. You have to be able to ride to work in them.
Did you ever get bitten by a horse?
Not bit, but bit at.
A horse tried to bite me once, and people say, you're crazy, horses don't bite.
Well, you know,
I may be crazy, but they do bite, don't they?
Yes, they do. My horse was a stallion.
Yeah.
And as they grow older, they get what we call they get a little rank, and a lot of times, he's a high school horse. And if I was working him on the stage, if he didn't want to work too well, he would kind of make out like he's going to bite you. Horses bite you, certainly.
Yeah. They never tell that about horses. They never show the horses biting people in the movies. Have either of you ever been bitten by anything interesting?
What do you mean bite? Well, I just want to know what the hell you're going and kiss a horse for.
No.
You mean bite?
Bite is
Bite
like, yeah.
So you were kissing him or what?
You're weird in France.
Hey?
I just don't know.
No, one more lesson, you'll have that all.
Fine.
That'll be all ironed out.
No, and he said, I've been chased by a wild horse. Chased, across a field.
A wild horse?
Yes, but I was told, is it true that if you put your hand up they see 8. A horse sees 8 times the image of anybody else. So that something right in its face frightens it. Is that true?
It's possibly true. I don't know.
Oh, I thought it was a little information, just the end of the evening, you know.
Sound a little skeptical about it. If they see 8 times what you are, then
Yes.
they'd see a person 8 times
Yes.
as big, and they wouldn't charge you anyway, would
Well,
they?
if they see 8 people running, they run too.
Yeah.
But no, I think a fly sees 1,000 times, doesn't it?
I hope
A
so.
housefly.
I do hope so. We'll have to do another show on this.
Yes.
After this brief message from our local station. Thank you, Mr. Ritter, for being here. Thank you, Elsa Lanchester. Thank you, Monsieur Delon.
Thank you, Monsieur Cavett.
And I know that you were nervous, even though you say you weren't. I think it's courageous to come on television
Thank you.
and match wits with a weirdo like myself. We will. I look forward to Borsalino, and we'll see you. Tell Belmondo hello, even though he doesn't know me. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.